Evening, everyone. This is the Ayer Conservation Commission meeting. It is Thursday, September 26th, 2024. Commissioners in attendance this evening are Jenna Maya as member, George Bacon as member, Jessica Gino as member clerk, Mark Phillips as vice chair, myself, John Schmullenberger as chair, Heather Hampson as our conservation agent. And welcome to all of you and all of you. Confirmation of agenda.
No changes to the agenda.
Changes? Is there a motion to confirm the agenda as written?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. Approval of the meeting minutes for September 12th, 2024. Everyone had an opportunity to read the minutes. Any corrections or comments? Nicely done, as always. Motion to approve the meeting minutes for September 12th, 2024 as written.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. Okay, this is the time in our meeting for public input. If there's anyone out there who has a comment or a question for the commission, now is the time. That's not on the agenda, that is. Okay, seeing none, then we will move on. We got a nice, big, full agenda this evening.
Yeah, right.
We have, first item is a presentation and vote on Stormwater Utility Working Group. Final presentation from the Stormwater Utility Working Group, looking for a vote of support for town fall meeting. Mr. Dan Chocolate, good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
Mr. Chair and Commissioners? Fine, how you guys doing?
Very well, very
Been a while.
It has been a while.
Yeah, so I'll try to be brief. I know you have a pretty big, full agenda tonight.
We don't care if we stay to 11.
Okay. Turn the football game on behind me. No, first, I'd like to thank Heather and her for representing on the work group. You know, it's been over a year since we started working on this as a work group and coming to where we are today. So we'll give a brief overview of the work group's recommendation and the steps going forward. So we do have the slides up here, but you guys also have a handout. So on this PowerPoint, we won't get into a lot of the background, which we did before, especially there was a June 24th public forum. I know a lot of you were there. But of the current condition of Ayer's assets and the reactive approach we've been taking, we won't get into a lot of that. More of here's what we've looked at for the rate structure and regulations of a possible stormwater utility fund. So the objective for the work group was to consider the option of a stormwater utility, aka enterprise fund, for funding our stormwater management. And I mentioned we'll get into our work group's efforts, what we did, and the next steps. Back in February, we were here, February 8th, just an informational. This was when the work group was starting to get really deep into rates regulations and giving an overview to the board of what was going on, commission. List of the advisory work group members. You can breeze over that. One thing, and most of you are probably aware that the Stormwater Utility Advisory Work Group has a web page, and it's a good repository, lots of information, answers a lot of questions people are having. Whenever I've had a question come to me, I'll answer it, but I'll say, hey, listen, this is all up on the website. If you want more, it's up there too, and you can always come back to me or to any member of the work group. So we'll get into some of the items that are on there further in the slides, but videos of the public forum, presentation slides, FAQs. If you have any questions, it's up there, most likely. So the work group, the efforts to date. So over the past year, the work group accomplished the following 4 bullets. So one was the work group determined the stormwater utility needs and funding. So we went through a process of looking at, okay, what should we be funding? What is the budget? And then also, all right, how would you fund that? What rate structure do you put together? That's item number 2, drafted the rate structure. Well, I'll dig a little deeper into this in a bit. Drafted regulations and a credit policy. So these are all draft. And also conducted public meetings and outreach. So So the first bullet we were just talking about, utility needs and funding. So Ayer stormwater infrastructure, it's expansive. The total replacement value is approximately $90 million. So it's a pretty big asset. The goal, determine a funding mechanism to meet current and future stormwater needs in an equitable, stable, reasonable, and sustainable manner. And I think one of the big keys there is sustainable. You know, as we go forward, right now the town is funding through the general fund. We are in a reactive posture. If we want to move to a proactive posture, it costs more. Do we keep funding from the general fund? 10 years from now, will that be a good thing if we're still doing that? Do we look at the enterprise fund now? That's really why we're looking at this option. So the work group went through a process, and this is summarized real briefly here. The process took several months, several iterations of looking at different versions of a possible stormwater utility fee, and based on a level of service. So level of service, what is that? It's how much bang we're gonna get for our buck. How much capital work are we gonna do? How much are we gonna do for operations and maintenance? Are we gonna be TVing every pipe in town? Are we gonna just TV a few year by year? So in the end, the highest level was basically version 1. That was to do the whole stormwater asset management plan. It wasn't feasible for the current staffing level in town. That was just kind of, let's start there with our baseline. That's what the stormwater asset management plan. And then from there, the work group worked down to a more palatable, practical version, which is version 3, which still puts the town in a proactive posture, trying to highlight it, and also gives a better level of service for the asset of the stormwater management system. So this is kind of a little bit of what I was talking about here, this table describes. So the current stormwater program comes from the general fund, that's from tax base. It's about $240,000 per year. The last couple of fiscal years that I have increased that in the budget for stormwater to get into a more proactive position, not quite to the $700,000. But as you can see, as you go, if you only have $240,000 a year, we're really just doing repairs. We may get to some very small culvert projects, but there's a lot out there that really should be done. The backbone that we're sitting on of the stormwater infrastructure out there is in very poor condition. We really should be getting on top of it, especially with what's to come in the future with stronger storms, climate change, et cetera, resilience. Without going too far into it, I'll go to the next slide. Okay, into rate structure. So key terms, when the work group evaluated rate structure, impervious area. So the commission, with the work the commission does, I'm sure you're aware of impervious area, hard surfaces which stormwater flows off of. Stormwater does not penetrate through these surfaces. So like your pavement on Main Street right now, when it's raining right now. It's flowing down the street, going into a catch basin, very quickly going into our waterways, carrying pollutants with it. If there was no development, you would have a forested, wooded area, you'd have infiltration going back into the groundwater, you wouldn't have that stream runoff, you'd have filtration, your water quality would be a lot better. So impervious area is, and in the industry and in enterprise funds, is typically used as the measuring tool for stormwater impacts and for paying a fee for stormwater. So on to the next bullet, equivalent residential unit. So the stormwater billing unit that is related to impervious area. So because each property has varying impervious areas, this is generally done in the industry is to use an equivalent residential unit. And so the way it was put together by the work group was one equivalent residential unit is equal to 3,200 square feet of impervious area. And what that 3,200 square foot value is, it wasn't just pulled out of the air. It's the median impervious area of a single family residential property in Ayer. So that's how that number was put together. We'll get a little more into how it's used next. And a couple slides. All right. So on this slide, draft rate structure, this is available on the website. It's a property viewer which calculates the equivalent residential unit for all the properties in Ayer. we can maybe look at it. I'll get the link, go back. I'll get the link now, but we can look at it in a second. I'd rather go to the next slide and then get more into the property viewer. Okay. So the work group's, the recommended rate structure is a proposed annual fee of $95 per equivalent residential unit. This is proportional to the $700,000 yearly proposed stormwater utility funding. So the way it would work is all single-family residential properties would be charged $95, the 1 ERU, regardless of the impervious area on the property. That's $23.75 a quarter. Any non-single-family residential properties, such as commercial, industrial, multifamily, anything not single-family residential, would be charged a fee proportional to the impervious area on that property. So we'll look at a couple of examples, and then we can look at the parcel viewer. So here's a single-family residential property, 2 Pheasant Circle. The impervious area, it's not 3,200, oh no, it's real close, 3,190. It's 1 ERU. Even if the impervious area on the single-family residential property was like 4,000 or 2,000 square feet, it would still be charged 1 ERU, which is the $95, $23.75 per quarter. Looking at a non-single-family residential, this example is 11 Willow Road. The fee is calculated. So looking down here, the impervious area on the property is 68,000 square feet, roughly, divided by 3,200 square feet. So it's 22 equivalent residential units. So you take that 22 times by the 95 per equivalent residential unit, and the fee annually is $2,090. So you can kind of see sort of the equity here where the high impervious properties end up having to pay more because there's more impact to stormwater. We can look at the parcel viewer. Yeah, feel free to chime in too, Heather. You're in the work group. So the parcel viewer is here, and this is available right off of the work group's website. So if I lived at a single family residential off of Washington Street, it should, Ken's place, it should tell me 1 ERU, yeah.
Yeah.
There's one, I was looking at a multifamily the other day. Here's one on West Main Street, so 73.
Yeah.
This is a multifamily, so I can click here, and it calculates out to 2 ERUs. So that fee would be 95 times 2, so $190 for that whole complex. I think there's like 5 units there, so.
So does it flip on the other side of the 1,600, half of an ERU?
No, but the minimum is 1 ERU. So yeah, if there was a multifamily property, I don't think there are any. I haven't noticed any. I'd have to check with our consultant actually that are less than an ERU.
So I guess what I'm saying is, so it's let's say it's a multi-family, and so that goes to 6,400 plus 16, right? So it'd be at 8,000. Is it at 8,001? They'd pay 3 ERUs? Square feet.
Oh, when does it round up and round down?
Is it just a literal, like 1 foot round up, round down? I'm just curious.
I think it's, basically usually when it's over the halfway to it, it goes up to 3. I'd have to check that actually, but I'm pretty sure that's how it is rounded up. I mean, that could
manipulating that, but okay. No,
It's big enough for our taxes, so.
Yeah. But I mean, there's some properties, Pan Am has some out here, and they've been alerted of this, but.
Yeah, which they seem to be
And
too
CPF as well, who would have significant, costs here. So 206 ERUs for this is epic, because they have significant impervious area. So as we get more into the presentation, there is opportunity to reduce their fee through a credit policy of up to 50%. So why don't we?
So in doing all of that, based on a single year, do we get the, what did you need?
700.
700 million?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or 700,000, right?
700,000.
And that number is developed accounting for credits. So we took a 7% reduction of what you actually get for a fee, accounting, assuming we're going to get
Credits and
7%
abatements.
credits.
Okay.
And maybe as you go forth, maybe it's higher than that, could be lower. Working with our consultant who's done this for several communities, that's a conservative number to be using, the 7%.
I know at the public input, there seemed to be a little bit of push towards that next level though, instead of 700,000, but the million.
I remember, yeah, the
We
public forum.
ended up
There was a
saying no
couple
on that.
Yeah, so the work group did still stick with the 95. I mean, I think, especially at this point, like right now, the work group put together this draft rates, the draft regulations. What would happen is all this would go through the rate review, if this gets approved, say at town meeting, go through the rate review committee, and then the select board would ultimately put it through. So I think, as the town were to start out, you'd probably start on this low end, and maybe eventually, if it's palatable, the committees and the boards would. But I think that, the work group still thought it was, a very, 700,000. It's much better than what the town's been doing now. It'll be much better level of service and proactive.
Yeah.
And even with our staffing levels and us ramping up to do more work, we really don't want to go too far. So.
That would be my next question. The 700, does that account for additional salaries in that amount?
Yes.
Like, it's
Whatever-
not just the work itself?
Yeah, whatever salaries that are needed in there, it was all broken down. Some of it still stayed in DPW, some of it's stormwater. And then with the rate review committee, it all goes to public hearing. So it's just easier to give a number when you go to town meeting, is the first people are gonna ask is how much it's gonna cost me. Whether that number goes up or down due to the rate review committee, that's that. So it's just easier to go, hey, we're gonna go for this. If it gets voted on to go higher during the public forum, because that's what the public wants, then that's what we'd see. But I don't anticipate for the first year. It'd be easier just to go with the lower one and say, oh, okay, now we know what we need. We might need more, or we might need less.
Yeah.
It's better to ask for a median on that aspect of it and then go from there for the second year.
And that is a good question, because even early on, probably in like October or November last year at the work group's meeting, we started looking at, all right, what should be in the general fund, what should be in the enterprise fund? Because, for example, right now, the highway division, most of their equipment, most of their staff time is for highway work, but they do use that for stormwater work. They were out fixing a couple catch basins today. So you kind of, that's a case-by-case basis. And so, right now, the equipment and everything's been kept in the general fund. So right now, really what's in the enterprise fund will be more operation and maintenance. There are some staff salaries and capital expenses. Those are the big ones, really, yeah. Okay, so going past rates, so with the rates, there's a draft regulations and credit policy the work group put together. So in that, a couple key items, the select board would be the authority. They would set the rates, and it would be a similar process to what they do now for water and sewer rates, which goes through the rate review committee, then a public hearing of the select board.
So the rate review committee makes an advisory to the select board?
Exactly, yeah. And so there is a credit policy available. The work group thought that would be good to have. It gives incentive to get stormwater treatment on properties. So we're treating the stormwater, and then it reduces impervious area. It'll reduce the cost for those properties as well. So there's up to 50%. So there's a lot of criteria in there to meet that. Like, for example, Catania Spagner a few years ago put in the underground stormwater treatment. You guys probably know that, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so that probably would fit the bill for getting a stormwater credit. It definitely would, probably up to the whole 50%, I would think, because it meets current standards the way it was designed. Billing and collection. So just initially, we've reached out through our water and sewer billing, and it's not too hard to add the stormwater fee to that. So there would be, some legwork there, but it would essentially get added to our water and sewer bills.
So would it be broken into quarterly amounts for the 95 then?
That's what I would anticipate. Yes. Yeah. Public meetings and outreach. So the work group did,
But there's people that are not on water and sewer.
right, so they would have to end up being added to the billing system. So that's where it gets tricky, right? Whoever's not on water and sewer, but there is a property that applies to the stormwater bill.
Which
We
there
have
is-
to add
There
it.
shouldn't be too many.
Yeah, I don't think there would be too many. We haven't gone to that point yet, but if this were to get approved, then we'd start
Yeah.
doing that process.
It's different water though. Isn't it?
What's that?
Well, I guess the stormwater turns into our water.
Stormwater,
but okay.
Oh, right, yeah, they are
They're
separate.
just kind of
They
like a
are.
separate thing.
They're beyond the bill, but.
Yeah.
All right, work group meetings. So the work group has been meeting monthly since September of last year. Those have been open to the public and hybrid. I know initially the first couple weren't, but then we went hybrid. Board and committee meetings back in February of 23, June of 23, and in February 23, June of 23, the select board. There's some presentations available on the website where there were meetings there. And we mentioned the February meetings to various boards. Public outreach presentations. There was a stormwater speaker at the library back in February of last year, and there's a good video of that on the work group's website.
That was really good.
Yeah. June of this past year, I know many of you were there, the Public Input Information Forum on June 24th. There's a picture of it here. And in August, there was outreach to commercial property owners of this, and we had a meeting in this room and on Zoom, and that video and slides are also up on the website. Other outreach, there was a notification mailed with the June tax bills, informational flyer at spring town meeting. Thank you, Heather. I know you helped a lot putting that together. Work group video on stormwater management and Ayer's history, so that's a cool video. Frequently asked questions document, meeting summaries, notes and outreach plans, and there's much more on the web as well. These are some of the things that have taken place. So the next steps, most recently on September 17th, the select board met and the work group presented its recommendations of this proposed rate structure and regulations. And so the select board did recommend submitting warrant articles for town meeting consideration. So those are going to go to fall town meeting. There's 2 warrant articles. The first one would create the Stormwater Utility Enterprise Fund. And the second one would allow the town to set up the fee collection, so stormwater utility fee collections, abatements, and liens. I should point out there's no written numbers in those warrant articles. It's wording to create the fund and wording to allow the town to create a fee. I expect once that happened, the work group's work would head to the rate review committee if this were all get approved, and then it would go from there.
So, sorry, at
Yeah.
town meeting, people won't be voting on the $95. They'll just be voting on the overall idea.
Right,
Okay.
so that's right. I mean, I think in practicality, all that work group's work, I imagine that would probably likely end up being the fee, but it still technically is not until it would have to go through the process after the town meeting approval of the rate review committee and select board.
Expect you'd get a lot of questions about the fee.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
It's sort of like our bylaw gave us the ability to write regulations, but we didn't have them ready then.
Right,
Detail.
so there is, right, and then it's kind of odd here because there is a draft regulation, and draft fee we've shown, but it's created by the work group, but then it has to go to the other
Entities
entities.
to get approved.
Yeah. So that, just to try to be brief, that's the latest, and that's where the next steps are. And so if the commission would like to do so, I know it's on here, if you would like to vote support for it, you could have the Conservation Commission under the article as, where it says recommends, it would show support. And if there's any other questions too, Heather and I work through.
Dan, is the work going to be in-house, or are you going to contract this out?
A lot of it, any construction work, it would be contracted out. It's going to be significant upgrades, and we do that nowadays currently with our stormwater upgrades. But we try to do as much of the engineering as we can in-house, and I know Matt has done a lot of it recently. So I'd anticipate to try to stay doing that same process and not having to hire consultants. Yeah.
And so you're not going to be really adding any more personnel to the DPW?
We would not initially, I mean, maybe as you move forward with the more regulations we're getting, with the increased stormwater work we ought to be doing, it probably would make sense to have some more staff, project manager or something. You know, not at this time, I don't have anybody lined up or thought of adding somebody, but you know, in the future, that's probably what I would recommend the town consider.
And if something huge comes along, then that would just be separate to go to before town meeting and, or.
If there was like a large culvert replacement. Yeah, so it
700.
It would go through town meeting. So for example, right now we are designing, for example, Groton School Road culvert. That's off almost to the Groton town line as you're heading out of town, just after Groton Shirley Road. So we're looking at that, we're in the design phase. And hopefully, you know, we could get some grant monies to support that with all the infrastructure money that's out there, but it's really hard to find for these type of projects, but I won't get into that. But so it would go through, any expense has to go through town meeting. Funds would have to get appropriated by town meeting to the stormwater fund, similar to the water and sewer funds. So last year in the water account, we, you know, for example, there was a $350,000 article for the new well source that we're working on out near Speck Pond. The wastewater plant had a $4 million ask at last town meeting for upgrades to the plant. So those all go through the town meeting process. Because it's an enterprise fund, it doesn't have the debt exclude, or not the debt the vote.
Oh, the
there is no
3/4 vote?
Yeah, so because it's not the taxes, you're not going to Prop 2.5. So there isn't that extra vote portion of it, just the town meeting authorization allows it, and then the finance manager can debt toward the enterprise fund to fund that, say, the $4 million project. Yeah.
You need the vote to go to ballot and then have the ballot question.
Right, the ballot question,
Yeah.
that's what I was.
Yeah, you need the majority vote in order to go to the ballot, and then that's to go for ballot question, like when they do the fire trucks.
That's when it's, yeah, if it's something in the general fund coming from the tax base, you need to go through that. That's the town.
Yeah,
that's the
the
process.
enterprise fund's different.
Right.
It's easier.
Any questions, Jen?
I'm looking just through the draft regulations and everything you put forward on the utility credits. Are you going to be reviewing credits for existing stormwater, like retention, detention basins, everything, or anything they do moving forward?
No, we would look at existing.
Okay.
So every property would have to submit, and then it would be looked at. And there's a process that goes to the town engineer first, and he checks it to see if it meets the criteria. Mm-hmm. And I want to say the specific criteria was to meet stormwater standards post 2007, I think, updates of Mass handbook. Mm-hmm. I want to say that's where it was landed with the work group. Yeah.
A lot of good work that you all did.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, the work group spent a lot of time.
Matt did a
hours.
lot of it.
Yeah.
Jess?
Oh, I'm good. I think it's a good idea.
George?
So if single-family residence adds an accessory dwelling unit, does that make them multifamily?
Good question. I think, where does it get labeled a multifamily? Is that by the assessor?
That'd be a good question for the
assessor.
assessor. I think it ends up being that it
Write that down.
does.
That's a good
That's a-
hypothetical.
I don't think we have, I don't think we even have any accessory apartments in town yet.
I don't know.
Well, we have single-family houses that have been broken up.
Yeah, there are those, and those are considered multifamily, as far as the building department goes, and I just know that from my building department days and going through all that stuff. But as far as an accessory apartment, when we did the whole bylaw change to the Mount Town meeting or two ago, as far as that bylaw goes, no accessory apartments have been applied for under that bylaw yet. So there actually technically are no accessory apartments, but there are multifamily houses,
So, could I add on?
if I remember correctly.
If you had a multifamily house that had, say, it was just at 3,200 square feet, but you had like 2 or 3 families in the house, that would still be one.
One ERU. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Were the accessories, did they have to be on wheels or no? The accessory?
No.
Okay. I couldn't remember.
No, it was to have one in an existing house, so much square feet of the I think it was a calculation done by the existing square footage, and a big percentage of that square footage the accessory apartment could be. So like if someone took a garage and turned it into an accessory apartment, something like that. I think that's what the purpose of it was for. But I don't quote me on all that because I wasn't doing all of that upstairs at that point. But I just know from being on the ZBA in Pepperell how it goes, but it's different. But I know that I'm almost positive there hasn't been anybody applied for that under the new bylaw yet. So everything else would be, I think, technically considered a multifamily at this point. But as far as that classification goes, that'd be a good question for Charlie and the assessors.
Yeah.
Under the accessory apartment bylaw.
Do they have to apply through the town now, given what the governor?
That doesn't go into effect until February.
Okay.
So I think that, I know the planning board is considering that and working on that as well, but that doesn't go into effect until February.
To create more affordable housing.
Accessory apartments are now by right
Gotcha.
in February due to the new state law.
Any more questions, Mark?
No, I'm good.
Any more discussion at all?
Do you have any questions, Mr. Chair?
I asked a couple. That's all I got. All right, well, shall we vote? Is there a motion to issue a vote of support for the Stormwater Utility Enterprise Fund at the fall town meeting?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Heather and Commission for the
Thank you.
support through this.
Thanks, Dan.
All right. Thanks. Back to your agenda.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Dan.
Oh, yeah.
All righty.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I gotta make something up for next Saturday.
Next item this evening is the continued public hearing. We will open under the Wetland Protection Act and also under the wetlands bylaws. It's a notice of intent, DEP file number 100-04890 Scully Road.
Yes, we had the site visit for that on the 14th. While there, we went over some special conditions with the engineer and applicant, which included the cleaning up of the foreign materials that were on site, as well as
Invasives.
invasive species removal, and monitoring. The one question that Lynn Hutt from GPR had on that was to see if the commission would be amenable to having the property owner do the maintenance of the monitoring of the invasive species once removed, instead of having to hire a specialist to go out and do that. Given the amount that it's just the knotweed, basically where the detention basin is going to be going, so it's going to be dug out anyway, and the burning bush, I don't think that would be a huge task on them. If we want to, we can add a condition in there that I go out once a year for whatever many years to monitor it with them, if you would like, or we can just leave it up to them to do that. I think other than that was the only comment they had on our conditions.
No? So maybe go out and take a look?
Yeah.
Not every year perhaps, but.
Yeah, but you just have survey so often to ensure it's going okay, or they can submit pictures to show that it's, that they're monitoring it, something like that.
Is that Joy?
Yes.
That's his property, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
But that was it. That was the only outstanding thing, was just that site visit and drafting the orders, which I had drafted, and I had those conditions in there. So I'll just make note to the either submission of pictures or the agent monitoring the invasives alongside the owner to ensure that they've been taken care of.
Yeah, can we maybe, so I'm comfortable with that. I'd rather have your eyes, or who's ever
Okay.
replaces you eventually someday.
Yeah.
We
can add that, and
Do it
I'll
like
let them
spring,
know.
because then if you see something,
It's easy to get at right off.
yeah, let's not wait till it's like, July or August and it's, you know what I mean? In case.
What point in the spring can you start to see it?
I'd say by mid-June, you'd definitely have some
yeah.
growth,
I would
if
say,
not sooner,
yeah,
but
I
I
would
don't
say
know.
May.
What do you, yeah,
Yeah, so
okay,
just put in a date,
yeah.
like,
Yeah, by
That's what I'm
May,
thinking.
I'd probably say by May 30th.
yeah, but don't have it like let them do it in March 30th, because then that's sort of a waste. Is that why I didn't see any in March, and then you go too long?
Yeah.
So yeah, just put a period.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good idea.
that way. We nip it in the bud as you're doing along Grove Pond, right?
I got roots out like that big the other day, last week.
Is that in the orders about you going?
No, I can add that in there. That's not a problem.
Yeah, I
I just,
think
that was, I didn't want to put anything in there, given that, without asking you guys first on how you want to do the monitoring on that. I didn't see a problem with letting the homeowner do it because it wasn't a large amount, but I didn't want to say without asking you guys first, or put anything in there.
Thank you.
Well, could it be made conditional if he submitted photos?
Yeah, and
dated
we can-
photos every year, that from a set point?
Yeah, we can
then-
do photos, monitoring photos, and then along with going out once or
Yeah,
so.
or photos, and if no photos are received, then you go out or something. How does that sound?
Yeah.
You want her to go
out?
Yeah.
I'd just say, don't worry about photos, just go out,
Photos,
take a peek.
okay.
You know roughly where it is.
Yeah, it's
Totally
not
easy.
I mean, once they,
it's not a very big site.
right, right. Because it was like the knotweed and the burning bush was
The
pretty
burning
much
bush.
behind it, right?
Yeah, it was a knotweed.
I'm not as
where the
worried
catch
about the
basin's
burning bush,
gonna-
honestly, it's more the knotweed.
Yeah, the burning bush is just, while
While
we're
you're
in
there.
here, might as well get rid of
Agreed.
it. That one's just more or less just cutting it and keep cutting it, right? And then eventually it will die off.
Yeah, and
Whereas the
just rip it
knotweed is,
out.
it's hard.
Just rip it out.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's fine. I'll put that condition in there
Yeah,
that
I'd
the
rather
agent
do.
go out on a yearly basis.
Because then you're like, well, the order says you need to send me pictures, you didn't send me any pictures, and it's like,
Yeah, that's fine.
it's rather,
It's not that far.
they call, set
No,
up
it's not
a
that far.
time, and say, hey, see you tomorrow at
It's not
1
that far,
o'clock.
it's not that big of a site, so that's fine. Okay, well, you add that.
Anything else? Motion to approve the notice of intent. DEP file number 100-04890 Scully Road.
And is this also approving the order of conditions and issuing the order of
And
conditions?
Issuing the order of conditions, yep.
Approving and issuing the orders of conditions with the
Edits.
edits.
The special conditions as mentioned.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. That was a nice piece of property, you know?
It was.
I was really surprised.
So I'll just change the ongoing monitoring and removal
Just add
to
it.
be inspected by agent.
It makes, Heather, you just want to do like during, you know, a scheduled
season.
visits during the month of May, something like that?
Yeah,
That makes sense, Jen? Or-
Yes.
Oh,
Jen,
I mean,
you
we could
agree to?
always-
I do.
I mean, I said I was just thinking, one inspection per year during the growing season.
Yeah.
I feel like that way the growing season changes, if somehow, for some strange reason, in 10 years from now, our growing season's in April.
December?
You can go out.
Year round.
Because that's happening, so I might as well make note of it. Okay, very good. That's nice, that's done.
So we're going to close this out, right? Motion to close the public hearing. Notice of intent, DEP file number 100-0489.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. All righty, we're cooking here. Next item this evening, the continued public hearing that we will open under the Wetland Protection Act and also under the Air Wetland Bylaw. Notice of intent, DEP file number 100-0491, 11 Gaskin Road, Panther Place. This is for land clearing, grading, and installation of basement drainage pipe where
Oh, yeah,
previously
you can come up
approved
here.
residential.
I didn't know they sent anybody, so that's fine.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Leah Stuckey. I'm here on behalf of Kyle.
Could you spell your name?
Leahstucke.
S-T-U-C-K-E?
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm also with Oxbow Associates. Kyle had a conflict, so he couldn't make it tonight. So there's been 3 changes since the last meeting that Kyle was at.
Yeah, minor changes.
Yeah.
They were just.
Do you know about them?
Yeah, they're the changes that we discussed during the site visit to add
You're fine.
to add a minimum of 3 signs.
Yep.
To the property, the boulders, and then, which Leah can speak to, the additional tree plantings. I guess according to the approved subdivision plans, the planning board had behind lots 10 and 11, a row of trees to block from the open space from the the subdivision. So they'll just continue that line behind lots 8 and 9, those same trees, to make up for the plantings that were requested.
And how many trees?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
8 trees.
Mixture of, yes, additional, because the clearing that's going to be taken back here will take out about 6 to 8 large trees. So we just wanted them to replace them somewhere in the subdivision, and that's where they decided that would be the best place. So then that row of, I believe it's aspens, is going to just carry on. Oh, spruce trees, sorry.
Yeah.
Spruce trees would just carry on the whole backside of the property of the subdivision.
Yep. I remember there's
Continuous line.
some big trees coming down.
Yeah.
And what was the specification on the boulders?
For the, we have them on the existing properties for the
Okay.
no disturb zone. So they're just gonna continue that line going down the entire, that right side of the subdivision along with the signage. Because these 2 lots didn't have previous orders,
Right.
so it just keeps it in compliance with the other ones.
Spacing and size of the boulders is consistent.
Yeah, be consistent. I mean, we saw a number of boulders while we were out there.
There's a lot of boulders.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I didn't know they were sending anybody, so I was ready to just
Yeah,
do
I
the
just-
whole thing.
Signs and boulders were being placed on the 50-foot, right?
They were being placed on the 50-foot. We didn't want them, put them at the, or over the limited clearing, whatever was made more sense.
Or the, okay,
Yeah.
or the limit of
It's
clearing.
close to the same.
Yeah, it's around the same on
Okay,
some
that's
of.
what I remember.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It wasn't to have one be further in, it was gonna be whatever made the
Yeah.
most sense, yeah.
It's not on there yet.
But you have the lots on.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Don't have those, I think, on the assessors.
Do you have any
map
questions
yet.
while we're thinking about this? No? George?
I verified the species too, I think, to make sure they were native, and they are, so. I think one of them wasn't, but I was,
Okay.
but I think there's black, red, and I think blue spruce, and I think one of them was like, it's more towards Colorado, and the other ones were all through here, so it's fine.
Any other discussion? Any more discussion on this? Do you have the orders
I do,
drawn? Okay.
yep, for both of them, so you do do separate votes, but I do have them all done.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the notice of intent, DEP file number 100-0491, 11 Gaskin Road, and also to approve and vote on the orders and conditions with, I guess they're not changes, or they're not additions, they're just,
Yeah, with
Yeah, the
the
orders. It's in the
conditions for
orders.
the boulders, which were already on there, the signs, and then the addition of the 8 trees.
as written.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. Next one is,
You have to close the
oh
public
yes,
hearing. on
I'm
this
getting
one.
ahead of myself. Motion to close the public hearing, notice of intent, DEP file number 100-0491, 11 Gaskin Road.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously.
you.
All righty, our next item this evening is the continued public hearing that we will open under the Wetland Protection Act and also under the Air Wetland Bylaw. DEP file number 100-0492, number 13 Gaskin Road, which I'm assuming it's
It's the lot next door, so
Pretty much
it's the same thing. Yep. So everything we just talked about carries on for this one.
Anyone have any comments or questions, discussion? Motion to approve the notice of intent, DEP file number 100-0492, 13 Gaskin Road. Also to approve and vote on the orders of conditions.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously.
And just so you know, with these ones, when I wrote the special order of conditions for the plantings, I wrote because it's included in the one for 11 Gaskin, so it's a combined of 8 for both conditions, so it's not, it was 8 together for both, so it wasn't like sitting in there like, oh, it's in there twice, but it's in conjunction with that one, so no one would, in case for some reason I leave and someone reads it and thinks they owe us 8 trees, they do not.
They owe 4 per lot, roughly.
Yeah, I mean, I just put it as a total and just said it's in conjunction with that, yeah, order. So I thought I put a comment, but it was on this one. Thank you.
Motion to close the public hearing, notice of intent, DEP file number 100-0492, 13 Gaskin Road.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next item this evening is the continued public hearing. We will open under the Wetland Protection Act and also under the Air Wetland Bylaw, notice of intent, DEP file number 100. Oh, no file number yet?
There's no file number yet. This is for the substation. They have requested a continuation to our next meeting. I'm looking for the email. I don't know where it went. I spoke to one of the representatives from BSC Group, the other day, due to the fact that they will be adding the cleaning of the head wall, the outfall by the head wall, all the gunk that's there in the ditch, the drainage. They will be cleaning that out during construction, so they're adding that note to the plans along with, I believe, your comment into regards to the question of the plantings or the number of trees or whatever within the replication area. They're adjusting those plans for that as well. So they weren't going to have those ready in time for tonight, and we didn't have a DEP number yet either. So anyway, so they requesting a continuation to the next meeting on the 10th to get those items into us and then hopefully have our DEP number for that time.
And was it the planning board that requested the cleaning up of the head wall?
The planning board did. That was a request that I had as well, along with the DPW. The three of us all were requesting that. Fought pretty hard to get that condition on there and satisfied, and they did agree to it. So.
What are they actually cleaning?
So I don't know if you saw the pictures that I had sent from before. So that under Bishop Road, there's a culvert underneath there, and at the end of it, it's blocked with a bunch of just leaf debris, I'm assuming, that's out there. So we request that to be cleaned out, because what that actually is upstream from that is another wetland that goes beyond down Park Street, down towards near Fitchburg Road. That wetland there actually has a hydraulic connection that goes from there and eventually drains onto the wetlands on this property. And with that blocked, it's keeping with inhibiting that flow of water. Whether that's been blocked for who knows how long, but it is on there under the Mass GIS.
The property on, like, across the street from Tiny's?
It might go all the way down that way, or if it's just on behind because when I look at it on Mass Mapper, it doesn't show quite. So it's either the two industrial the units. It's either behind that last one, or it might go all the way to the property behind, next to Tiny's. I can't remember, but it does. Those wetland systems are all connected.
The house and then the vacant with the trailer on it.
Yeah, I think that's a little further down.
Okay.
But I eventually, right, they're all pretty much connected. But yeah, so there was a hydraulic connection that goes behind those buildings and then goes under the road and flows onto this property, and that head wall's blocked, so we're asking them to clean that out. And then...
Did DPW say, like, is it on the other side of Bishop Road in front of the place that used to be the car restoration
Yeah.
place, there's a drainage grate? Like, is that the only connection? So that grate, so that drainage...
it goes all the way upstream. If you look on the Mass GIS, I could probably pull it up if you really wanted to see it.
No, I'm just saying, there's no actual culverts, it's just...
There's a
natural.
culvert underneath Bishop Road.
Yeah.
There's no there's no easement on the Bishop Road property.
Okay.
So part of the conditions from the planning board is that's going to have to be put in place in order for the town to maintain it. Otherwise, the applicant is in charge of maintaining that head wall and making sure it's clear. They're reluctantly agreeing to put in some sort of easement. They're going to work on how to get that done. That'll be done prior to certificate of completion being issued.
Okay.
But they will clean it as part of their condition from the planning board. It was going to be a condition of mine anyway, so they're just changing the plans up to add that schedule of work onto it and along with the questions on the replication area.
And then for the future, it's maintained by DPW?
It should, once this easement gets put in place, it'll be maintained by DPW.
Okay, all right.
Which will help with our floodplain, because, floodplain's a little south of that, but if it ever were to grow in the next 10 to 15 years, having that connection open and clean will help with that.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay? So I'm just in that motion to continue to the 10th.
Sure.
Unless there's any questions for anybody in the
Any
audience.
discussion before we, nope. Motion to continue the public hearing?
Yeah, it's just there is a...
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm in a butter.
Very sorry. Oh, join us, please. State your name and address for the records, please.
Sure. So my name is Peter Horaney. I live at 75 Park Street, Unit A.
How do you spell your last name?
Horany.
A-N...
Y-I.
Oh, okay. Got it.
And so I'm on the butter across the street, and I was at the town meeting, planning board meeting on Tuesday, and so my request has been to try to get some of the same landscaping they're doing towards Bishop Road, to do it towards the bank and the Park Street area, because to me, that's the part that faces me and us, the town. And I feel that the same thing that they're doing on the Bishop Road side, I think it would be good for us, the humans, as well as the animals, to have more of a blockage of all the lights and everything that they're putting in. I know that there are owls and frogs and things like that out there that are protected under the WPA, so I think it would be good for us to have that similar landscaping on both sides of the project.
I don't know what's going out there, to be honest with you.
I believe the proposed planting on the Bishop Road side is more arborvitaes. The issue, I have no problem with having a condition to do that. The only issue is the overhead lines, and it is wetlands. That whole area is the wetland area. So it's whatever's going to get to grow. Then usually big, tall things don't typically grow in wetlands. But
I requested initially something tall, but I think I would be fine with just the same thing on both sides. Just something to sort of block some of the new and growing sort of ominous development that they're doing, which is, I think it's very important for the city, and I'm not disagreeing with that. I just would like to have some sort of a shielding of the lights and activities so that both the humans and the environment around there. I know I've seen the owls and I've seen, I listen to the frogs. I think it would be good for all of us to be sort of blocked a bit from that, with just the same landscaping on both sides.
So the only issue you have on Park Street is that because of the transmission line crossings, you do not want height there.
So not on Park Street, only on, I have the plans here that they shared. And so what it is that this is where I live. This is where they're putting in replacing on the lot at 10, they're replacing this green bit. And what I'm asking is to put something like this green bit on this 12.
Oh, that side. Okay, I
This
misunderstood.
side, right here.
Gotcha.
I understand in the middle where the lines come out,
Yeah.
it's off limits.
Right.
I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm only suggesting on this the side towards the bank to
Okay.
do the same thing, because they actually have plans to put quite a bit here, because they're tearing out a bunch of trees.
Yeah.
I'm just
yeah, 'cause
suggesting
they're
they
doing
have-
an extra driveway and stuff like that. So,
Exactly, so I
okay.
think that if.
Yeah, when you said Park Street, I thought you meant along there, so misunderstood.
Yeah, yeah,
Gotcha.
because I live right here,
Put
it's
your
basically,
finger
I feel that
Where,
it would
like
be
the
good
No,
for all of us to have a bit of a sort of shielding from that.
plans because it's
And I would admit, I asked for maybe a bit much to get some more mature things, but I'm fine with just them putting in something just to block it so that we're not sort of looking into the belly of the system. And they're putting in new lights and they're thinking they're much taller. And so I know that I've experienced the owls flying in and out of there. And so I know that these lights, the light pollution would not be helpful for them. So I think that all I'm asking is just something for them to sort of block the whole what they have. With the same landscaping, just emphasize the same exact landscaping on both sides of the project. Because right now there's nothing there.
And this is on Park Street, kind of maybe closer to the credit union?
Yes, exactly. It's between the project and the credit union, not at all under the transmission lines on Park Street. I understand that that is off limits. That is not something I'm suggesting.
Is that something that we have jurisdiction?
That's what I'm trying to,
No, right.
we do, because it is within the 100-foot. My question is, and I'm not unfortunately very well versed in my plants, because it is technically, what we have, it's wet. The whole wetland goes through there. What would grow, it's not gonna be anything, I mean, the only thing was high bush blueberry, but I mean, that's not gonna, that's very sticky, right? It's not.
If it blocks it, I'm fine with that.
It's not
It doesn't have to be high, I understand.
it's not gonna block much. What's going on the other side is abrevieties, which is just an evergreen bush. Those won't grow in wetland.
Right.
So
Yeah.
to have the same, you couldn't have that. I mean, the request can be put in to put additional vegetation in there, which we can do. What the representatives for National Grid were saying were that in order to do that sort of work, to do any sort of planting, would actually cause more removal of existing vegetation to plant that. So I think that would have to be investigated to ensure that, because I don't.
Yeah, well, that's what came to mind when I was thinking on Park Street, actually. I was still thinking, you've got all the
Yeah.
wetland there, because it extends south. You know, the wetland gets larger as you head south towards the credit union.
Yeah, it does.
So when I was thinking, I was like, well, yeah, but we're not gonna dig up a wetland to put in trees.
Exactly, and
So-
I understand your concern, and I 100% agree with you that to have more, something to block, it would be beneficial. I just don't know how we can do that without disturbing more of a sensitive area.
Would it be a different fencing? Something where in the fencing, they weave something into the fencing? It's green?
That was, I think the planning board did ask that for you, and they said they can't do that for security reasons.
We need to be able
Because you
to.
can really see into it.
They can't do fencing?
They can't do like a block, like a weaving of material to like
Yeah.
the screening inside the fence, because you had to be able to see into the substation.
So, sorry if this is, I wasn't at the meeting, but can they do something with the lighting themselves? Like, you know how they have the light that focuses?
The light already has to do that. It has to be dark sky compliant, so it
Okay.
has to point down.
Okay.
But it has to be
Increasing
lit
the height
24.
of it, right?
Yeah, they requested a variance for the height of the poles.
Gotcha.
And that's
Okay.
just, I think, due to Department of Public Utilities requirements. The same thing, we have gas stations, right? They have to be so bright and be on so long, because
Yeah.
that's just safety requirements that are required. So it's a tricky situation. Because I missed you guys' site visit. I was gonna go out today with rain. I gotta go out and look at it. The head wall area, I might go and they allowed me to go out on site, so I might go trampsing around through there and see what I can find, see if I can take pictures of something that may look like be a beneficial place to go put something. But I don't know.
Yeah, there's not much in that wetland area that's very tall.
No, it's very wet.
Naturally, I mean, it's,
Sure.
yeah.
Wetlands don't usually get tall.
Right.
We don't have the cypress swamp trees.
Yeah,
that
Cypress, there you go. Yeah.
that they have down south. And if we did, they wouldn't want those there anyway, because there's at least 4 overhead lines through there.
Well, yeah, because they just rebuilt those last year, basically,
Yeah.
or 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The taps.
to me, that's really what, the modernization is what really made it pop. Because all the old wooden poles, they blended into the background very nicely. And now it's becoming sort of this ominous, like tall, like it's like the big Star Wars walker things, it looks like.
They should start making them look like that, and it would be a
I don't think so.
benefit.
I think the best we can do for you right now is if our agent goes out and takes a look.
I'll peek around and poke around and see if I can find any spot that might be beneficial to put anything. Again, unfortunately, the majority of wetland plants aren't any taller than 5 to 6 feet.
I'll be fine with 6 feet.
So I'll
That
take
was
a
grab
peek and
level.
see what I can find and see what we
Yeah.
can do, and we can make the request when they're back. But, and I can let them know too, what we're looking at, but I don't know.
Thank you. I really appreciate the consideration. And if they change again, the time, because I was here and I noticed on Tuesday that it was posted for tonight.
Yes.
If they do a continuation again,
Yeah, I apologize. I know I mentioned at the meeting Tuesday, so I thought
Maybe I left
you
too
heard
early.
me. Yeah,
okay, so.
I apologize.
Please, it's not your fault. It's a mine. I guess I'll see you on the 10th.
Yeah, we appreciate your concern and your dilemma.
If for some reason, if it changes, I know Danny has your contact. If for some reason it changes on the 10th, I will let you know.
Thanks, I appreciate it. I'll be back for sure. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, yeah, thanks for showing up.
Absolutely. Thanks. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Yeah, anything, I mean, plantings are good, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, no, 100%. When he asked the questions.
Continue,
Okay, okay.
yeah, to the 10th. Yeah.
Plantings are exempt. Right, you can plant under the act, that's not, so we'll see what we can find.
Yeah.
Motion to continue the public hearing, notice of intent, DEP file number to be determined at 0 Bishop Road and 0 Park Street until October 10th.
So moved.
Second, sorry.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously.
Yeah, I just can't remember how far over from when they put the new structures in. Like, is it actually wetland? Because I don't know.
Well, the whole front of that property is the wetland.
I'm saying all the way to the south, though, right up to that property line.
No, I think it's something that, we need to look at. I think the majority of whatever could be planted, it might actually have to come from the bank.
Well, so that's my next question is where does their property end?
Yeah, it kind of
Like,
goes.
Yeah, because I know the southeast one, that was for the most part, like right in wetland from what I remember. And then the next one to the west was not as bad, but still.
Yeah, so it doesn't hurt to go poke around and see what I can, if I can think if something can be planted. But again, they're not going to be going in there with a hand shovel digging. So, I mean, I guess if you asked, if you put they planted in the spring when it wasn't as fully vegetated, that might work. I'll go look. I got new boots I haven't been able to wear yet, so I'll get to try them out.
You have waders yet?
I do not. That might be the budget end of year purchase.
Christmas.
Because then I have to go out to I'm afraid if I wear them and go out in a pond, I'm gonna find a water snake.
Or a dead body.
I'm more worried about a snake.
Escalated dark. I instantly go dark.
Other people wait.
There's one more.
Yeah.
One more.
One more.
One more.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay, we're
I have an
gonna,
update for you.
we will open this public hearing, a notice of intent under the Wetland Protection Act and also under the Air Wetland Bylaw. DEP file number to be determined, power line right-of-way through multiple locations, New England Power Company. Are you representatives?
Yes.
Please join us.
All three names.
All three.
All three names. Are you all with New England Power Company?
I am. My name is Erin Worskey. WHORISKEY.
Ellen?
Erin.
Erin. E-R-I-N. And you're with New England Power.
Hi, Heather Strelazzi Ward.
Heather.
Probably need the spelling for that. STORLAZZI space WARD. And I'm with TRC Companies.
That's a good name.
Thank you.
TRC.
It's even harder than mine to spell, I think.
Yeah, it might be. Here with Natalie Simonton.
Yeah, Simonton. Simonton.
Okay, and you're both with TRC?
Yes.
Right.
TRC.
Okay, you exist.
Thank you.
Would you tell us a little bit about your project?
Sure, I can start it off and then I can pass it off to these ladies to kind of give the deep dive into the impacts. But again, my name is Ayer. I'm representing National Grid, New England Power Company, and we have an upcoming transmission line improvement project. The project itself is actually 37 miles in length that runs from Millbury, Mass. Up into Ayer, so the last little bit is in here. It's about 4.5 miles through the town of Ayer. And along with those transmission line upgrades, we are proposing access road improvements. The transmission line upgrades are a mix of various maintenance activities, structure replacements, optical ground wire, insulator replacements, changing out cross arms, and then the access road improvements and proposed permanent work pads throughout the right-of-way. There's no, we've selectively identified where grading is going to be required for work pads. That was through a number of comments that we received through the MEPA process. We went through a expanded ENF and then a single environmental impact report, and a lot of the comments came back, obviously, trying to minimize your impacts. There's no new access roads proposed. We're not proposing any impervious surfaces. This is just kind of a refresh of the existing gravel that's out there now. And there's no tree clearing. It's really just brush mowing in the stretch of right-of-way that we have here. The project itself is broken into 2 phases. Phase 1 is more critical needed upgrades or maintenance work. And then phase 2 is the balance of all of the, they've looked at the structures and identified woodpecker damage and those kinds of things. So those are being kind of advanced in a phase 1 approach. And then phase 2 is the remaining replacements of those transmission lines and structures with wood to steel. And then I might pass it off to you. I think that's kind of the scope of the project. Maybe just as another point, this project obviously has gone through a series of permitting. I mentioned the MEPA process. We filed with the Army Corps of Engineers with DEP for a 401 water quality cert, and it traverses 10 municipalities. So you're kind of, unfortunately, the last on our list, equally as important as everybody else, but yeah, you're at the end of the line, so we're here tonight for that. And then as far as schedule goes, there is a planned outage starting in December of this year, and the project will likely go for another year, or phase 1 will likely go until December of next year. And so we are asking for a 5-year order of conditions to account for that phase 2 project that's going to happen kind of after phase 1 is complete. But maybe Heather, you can kind of go into the impacts themselves.
Sure. You did all the hard work.
Yeah.
There, so you took most of my presentation. That's fine, though. I don't mind. What more can I tell you? So TRC conducted all the resource evaluations, wetland delineations, agency consultation, and of course did the preparation of the application. This project does qualify as a limited project under the utility maintenance provision in the WPA. And under the Ayer bylaw regulations, the activities fall under utility maintenance, and a majority of the project work is exempt from the WPA. However, we do have a waiver request for the 50-foot no disturbance zone, which we can talk about a little bit later. So Aaron already went over much of the project description, so I won't get into that too much. But basically, the project is being proposed to make access and maintenance more safe and efficient. And the main goal is really to make it more make it more climate ready and resilient transmission system that can withstand more extreme storm events. So I guess I'll dive into a little bit. You already talked about the exempt maintenance work, Erin, filling potholes, ATV gullies along the existing access road. There'll be the replacement of shield wire with optical ground wire, replacement of insulators and cross arms. And of course, the existing structures will be replaced with direct embed or concrete caisson foundations. The non-exempt work would include permanent work pad construction in uplands and then timber construction mats for access roads and the work pads. So Erin already said no tree removal, significant tree removal of expansion of the right-of-way, which is an important feature. We already talked about the phases. And you probably do know that the WPA was filed on September 12th. All abutter notifications were sent out via certified mailings on September 12th. And we already talked about other permits. Yeah. Did they come back okay?
Yeah, people came in looking and asking questions.
Good.
And I was like, where do you live? I have 12 pages of plans.
Okay.
And they were all fine.
Okay, good. Good to know.
As long as they're not going outside, they're not going outside the right of way. Okay, good.
Right.
I'm sure that's the most common question.
Yeah.
I mean, once the work starts, the questions will come back.
Yeah, sure, definitely. What more can I tell you? So work pads in uplands are proposed to be crushed stone. Any work pads in steep slopes on level areas will be graded flat for safety, stability. And then activities in buffer resource areas will be loamed and seeded. So they'll be returned to pre-existing conditions. And then we talked about access roads, again, being widened to 16 foot if needed. Light improvements to make access safe and stable. No bank impacts, no land underwater impacts. For bordering vegetated wetlands, no permanent impacts. And there's approximately 84,000 square feet of temporary impact to bordering vegetated wetlands.
How much was that?
Approximately 84,000.
Okay.
Approximately.
We have the exact numbers.
If you need exact,
It's in here.
Yeah.
it is,
It's on page 11 in here in the binder.
in air, in air.
Yep.
So if you want me to reference it, it is.
Do you need exact numbers or?
It's in here, so,
Yeah,
resource area, permanent impacts, 20,927 square feet. Borderland subject to flooding, permanent impacts of 13,476 square feet. In 100-foot buffer zone, 256,070 square feet. Permanent impacts.
permanent.
Yeah. But it does state that it'll all be low and seeded to the best it can be, so.
Yes.
Permanent impacts will indeed be seeded.
Correct.
So the work pad areas in the wetland areas are just going to
Those are
still be,
construction mats.
okay. And those will be permanent then?
No,
Oh.
nope.
Okay.
All of the work pads that are going to be that are in wetlands or proposed in wetlands will be made up of timber construction matting.
Okay.
And pulled as soon as work is
Pulled when,
complete.
okay.
Yep. Work pads that are in upland areas, we are proposing to grade them and allowing those to revegetate. In some of the other resource areas, we're looking to loam and seed so that, we do have vegetated cover. And that was through conversations with Natural Heritage. A lot of this right away is obviously
Priority habitat.
priority habitat.
Yeah, I flagged.
There's maybe 2 structures that are outside of priority
I
habitat.
flagged those areas of the plans.
Did they intend any restrictions on construction?
We're still working through that consultation at the moment. We have a meeting. Our last meeting was Monday or Tuesday of this week. I can't remember. And so, I have to circle back with our construction line guys and kind of verify if they can meet some of the requirements that we're being asked of.
Natural Heritage will put limitations on the time of year that the construction can take place.
Yep.
As they do with all the ones they have.
Did you have anything to add, Natalie?
Did you get through all the impacts. All the access roads in resource area or in wetlands will be timber matted as well. I don't think we've mentioned that yet. So those are all temporary impacts. And yeah, I think that's it, unless you have anything else, Heather.
You identified some impacts on the 50-foot buffer. Can you review those or go over those really quick?
Yeah, sure. Well, so we'll be requesting a waiver for the 50-foot no disturbance zone. And so, it's existing infrastructure, so it's, tough to move things around. So access roads are existing. So, for example, we may have to go through the 50-foot no disturbance zone to access the different structures. Some of the structures are located in the no disturb zone, and they'll be replaced in kind. So that's one of the requests for a waiver. There's one temporary pole pad, which is in the 50-foot no disturbance zone. It couldn't be moved. Just the positioning of it is essential for the work that needs to be done. And all these areas will be restored, to be loaned and seeded.
Yeah, for the most part, the work is maintenance, and so, trying to site structures outside of those areas would require kind of upstream, downstream impacts and clearance issues. So, with the scope, we kind of were limited to immediately adjacent, like siting the structures immediately adjacent to what's existing.
Questions?
I know I'm
anyone?
talking to the electrical engineer.
Yeah.
Right here, so if I say anything wrong, just let it know.
So in the existing, the work is all in the existing right-of-way.
Existing right-of-way.
Nothing outside of that.
That's correct. No new easements. I think on this stretch, we have all of the rights review has been complete, so all the access locations have been vetted through our real estate department right at the middle of the application. And we do have a stakeholder person on the project, so hopefully that will alleviate some of the concerns that come your way.
There's usually environmental monitoring and get weekly reports.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. TRC will be on site, at a minimum of weekly to adhere to our NIPD's SWIP and just National Grid best management practices. Whether we increase that, we'll kind of figure that out as we start constructing the project. The project actually is starting in Sterling and going south to Millbrae, and then they're coming back up this way. So we won't get to you guys for a bit of time.
Any questions, George? No. Jen?
I should probably know this. When you say loam and seed, what are you seeding it with?
There's a wetland and an upland seed mix that we have that's been, vetted. That's part of our EG 303. I'm not exactly sure what spec it is, but it's in that document.
Thank you.
Sure.
Jess?
Nope, I'm good.
I guess the only issue I have is we don't have a file number.
That's right. So we'd love to have a continuance, please.
When would you like it continued to our next meeting? Would you have a file?
If we could go for your next meeting, that would be great. We'll see if we get that number.
Can we do that, Heather?
No, yeah, we can. Yeah, no, DEP is just taking a long time with things, and with this project being so large too, I think they're taking a long time, so we still don't have a circuit rider, so, which is not surprising. They never tend to hire them once they lose them.
And it's one DEP file number for the entire project?
No, it's per town. DEP numbers go per town, so that's why the 100, that's Ayer. Everything is 100, it's an Ayer. Each town has its own number, so, yeah. So just
If you want to do
wondered.
a site walk for the 4.5 miles or go for the full 35?
I would say, if the only thing I would say, if you did want to go and take a look at it, if you did, the one, I think, area that would probably be most beneficial is either over towards Rose. I just had the plan up, and I was like, ooh, this one's tricky. I think it's closer towards Rosewood, this one. So, the one that has the most wetland impact on it is coming off of, from between Air Solar 1 and Air Solar 2.
Oh, we know that area, right?
Didn't we already walk?
We've been in there.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the one, if you look at it's plan sheet 64 to 84, but it has all the pads, that has the most pads within the wetlands. Everything else only has like partial of one.
We're across the bike path, basically.
Yeah. They were doing that work for the last round while I was going out to Air Solar 2 on a regular basis, and it was, I mean, I didn't see, it's the only thing that always concerns me is when those pads go in and out, because they do get like dragged in and dragged out. They tend to do a lot of, I mean, I don't know how much we can condition that to be like not when it's super muddy.
It's definitely part of our environmental guidance document, so we can reiterate that.
Yeah, so like that's the only thing I ever noticed when going out to that site when they were doing this work, is because they bring them in right at the end of Washington and Groton Harvard Road, that little wetland area. That's where they were going in with those pads. And it's like, oh, that's just not a pretty area to go. But that's the only place to go in, right? Because that's where the easement is. So it's just one of those things. I think knowing I've seen so many of these projects go through, that's the only thing that I ever see concern with on my side of it, is when there's work pads go in, if there's a way to condition it to be a little more sensitive to whether the time of year or the vegetation, because they do just get dragged through and then dragged back out. And I know it does get revegetated, it's all temporary impact, but if we could try to lessen that, would be fantastic.
Yeah, we can reiterate, all of our crews will go through an environmental field issue training, and that is one component of that we can make sure to reiterate.
You could put in there gingerly. Install and remove gingerly.
Delicately.
Yeah.
Delicate.
Yeah.
I mean,
If tulips were
Be surprised.
planted, they could be tiptoeing through the tulips.
There better be no tulips in there.
Oh, gosh, could you imagine? And then I know that's the area too, when I was going out there, that, just while you wait for that too, that there was turtle activity in that area too. Which I'm sure is not the only one, but I know there is on that one, and I'm sure there will be going closer to the Stratton Hill project in that area. There will be in that side too, so.
Anyone have a burning desire to go out and take a look?
How was that, John?
Couldn't hear you.
I'll come along if you all want to go.
I do have a question. As part of the work, have you replaced any of the counterpoise, do you know? That's buried?
We mentioned it in, I don't know if it was actually captured in maybe the notices of intent, but we did capture it because it wasn't clear from engineering if that was going to be necessary or not. So it's, the way we've kind of characterized it through like the MIPA process, and I know it was put in there because it was kind of a last minute ad. It's all within the footprint of the disturbed area itself, so it's kind of captured in the impact numbers itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you say there was going to be vegetation clearing as part of the project, or no?
Say that one more time.
Vegetation clearing as part of the project, or no?
It's really just going to be mowing, if anything,
okay.
mowing of work pads and
That was the
access
only
roads.
complaint I think I got last year or 2 years ago, was some lady was complaining that all the shrubbery was getting cut down and all the deer go through and eat. I'm like, what? Okay.
Yeah, it's not.
So I just want to know because when this project starts, that question will come.
It's certainly not going to be like an edge-to-edge, like vegetation maintenance
Clearing that we
program
do,
they're
that,
doing.
yeah.
This is really going to be,
That'll be
access roads and work pads, just to, give them just a visual of,
Okay.
How to drop mats or
Okay.
make the work pads.
So there'll be limited clearing just to areas of work.
That's correct.
Okay.
I feel the same way you do.
Okay. Want to go and take a look?
I don't necessarily have to.
Jen?
No.
Jess?
I'm go where Jen goes.
Or
All right.
don't go.
Then we will discontinue until our next meeting.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for showing up.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate all your help, Heather.
Oh, yes,
Call
thank
me
you.
anytime.
Yes, you did, and it's fine. I get it. It's a big project, I understand.
Lots of questions.
Is this ours?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, is there a motion to continue the public hearing Notice of intent, DEP file number to be determined, the power line right-of-way through multiple locations to the power company until our next meeting, which is October 10th.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Passes unanimously. We'll see you on the 10th.
10th? Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
All right, see you then.
Unless the number's not
Unless the
in.
number's not ready yet.
Yeah, if the number's not ready, then
Yes.
We'll continue again.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, we'll know by the 8th then, technically, then, right?
Yeah, it's 8th, 9th, I mean,
Or, I mean, if it came in the morning of? would be-
it depends if it came back with comments.
Yeah, okay.
If it came back with no comments, it wouldn't be an issue. If it came back with comments, we'd have to figure that all out.
observation of plus updates?
So I'll try to keep it brief, given that it's getting a little on the later side. So next Saturday, October 5th, Newton Street, we have our location. I got that today. We will be directly behind Town Hall in the corner by the large tree. I think Sam said we will be next to the community garden and the bug guy. So that'll be fun.
The what guy?
The bug guy.
Bug guy.
Yep, he comes and brings bugs for, people that learn about bugs.
So you might actually get some shade this year.
Yep, we'll get
Last year
shade.
stunk.
Yeah, last year we were blasted out in the shade. Yeah, no, we are not in the bank parking lot this year. We are behind Town Hall. I do have a tent if we need to. I can get one. Setup is at 8, so I will come and set up and go back home. And come back here for 10, and then I will stay until 1, 2 o'clock, and then everybody else come by and take over. That's great. I will make sure we get everything for breakdown. I did order a big old bag of wildflower mixed seeds that I have been putting in little envelopes, and I have a little flower pot that they're going in. I will get candy over the weekend, so we will have those things, and we will have information as far as I also ordered some different pamphlets to hand out too. I got like 5 different ones, 3 each, so there'll be like 15 or so pamphlets that people can take, and they're like pollinate, like butterfly identifications, wetland plant, like plant, so actually like identification pamphlets that are the waterproof ones that we usually get free from MACC, that I just ordered some of our budget to hand out for that, because the MACC conference is 2 weeks later.
Can you remember the Girl Scout that did
Yes.
like the dog refuse
Yeah.
stuff or whatever? Can you print out like a bunch of those and have those available too?
Yeah, I have a bunch of things, like other like
Okay.
pamphlets we can have. These are just the ones I ordered too, that just to have to hand out, because I found a bunch of stuff like that when I moved downstairs, and every now and then I go for the bookcase, I find more stuff, and I'm like, why do I have this stuff here? I know I get this free from when we go to MACC conferences or whatever, so I just started putting them on the table out there, and every so often I look and the table's been picked through. I go, oh, people are taking stuff, so that's nice. So I'm just trying to replenish some of the stuff I know people have been taking out to have with us for the Newton Street.
Yeah.
But I will have other things and other handouts. We'll also have stuff on the Pocket Forest locations, which the new locations for next year, which I told you before. Planting next spring would be Sandy Pond School and the high school. So we will have sign-ups for that, information on that, if anybody would like to review that, along with the stormwater utility. So
They're going to plant Sandy
Catch
behind
up.
the school next year?
yes, both of them next
Oh,
spring.
okay.
Yep.
Because I saw some flags out there for like dig safe. I was wondering
Yes.
if that was for that.
Yep, that's for that.
A little early.
Well, they need to figure, because the reason it's out there early is so we can figure out the location, so we can do the prep.
Gotcha.
So we'll bring the mulch and everything out to sit over the winter.
Okay.
To start breaking down for planting in the spring.
Okay.
So we're doing
I
soil
was
prep
wondering,
work,
though,
yeah.
I think
That's
that's
why,
what
so they
that
can do the
for.
design and soil prep, and start doing the soil prep work this fall, early winter, and then.
Where
plant in
exactly are they
spring.
going to plant them? Like, so how's it going to lay out? Do we know?
I don't have the layout yet.
I mean, do they have a rough idea? Like
They have a rough
where
idea,
in-
yeah. It's going to be closer. They would only put too close to the road to keep for sight lines and
Okay.
plowing purposes. So I think it's going to be about, I don't know, maybe 6 to 8 feet off the road. But in that back area between the other large trees that are there, so it can kind of be like an alcove in between everything.
Oh, okay.
but I haven't seen
On
exact.
Sandy Pond, not on Willow, right? Or on both?
No, on
Or
Westford Road.
Westford.
Yeah, on Westford Road. Yeah,
Oh, okay. Cool.
which is where all the truck traffic more or less goes through, so.
Yeah. You put up a concrete wall, that'd be even better. Keep the noise over there.
Well, keep the noise up, but it wouldn't do anything with the pollution control, which is what the trees are gonna do.
I just assumed fell.
So we'll have that,
But I've seen it, but.
the MACC conference, the fall conference is on the 19th. If anybody would like to go, that is that day. I will be going on that and attending a couple of I think this year's focus is on water and floodplain.
Good.
Stormwater, water, climate resiliency, and floodplain. So that's the focus this fall. So there's that. I sent the letters out for the people on Shaker Pond, the subdivision, for their awareness of their open space conservation restriction. And then either tomorrow or Monday, I will send the letters to the 2 or 3 butters that we have concerns with to invite them to the meeting on the 10th.
Okay.
I wanted to kind of do them a couple days apart, so they weren't just ignore one or the other. If they get days apart, then they might not ignore it.
So you send a general one to
I send a
all?
general one to all of them to
Okay.
let them know that they have, if they were not aware, that they have open space behind their property, which has a conservation restriction, which means they can't do X, Y, Z. They should have seen signs in the back of their property. That's what that's for. If they had any questions, and then I put my business cards in there, and they could call me. So.
Great.
And then I will send out the possible violation letters and have those 2-3 residents come in. I don't know what to do with the duplex, because I would assume like it's the one on the one side that did that, but I don't know, so I might just send it to both of them.
What was the one with the duplex?
Yeah, what was
The one that had dumped the glass clippings.
Oh, okay.
It was at one of the duplexes.
There was that additional tree added and they were.
Yeah, and the tree I don't mind, but it's
Yeah, but that's the
just,
spot.
and again, that's the spot, and they had the grass clippings, and I don't know, I'd probably just have both of them.
I didn't even notice that was a duplex. Okay.
Yeah, pretty sure it is. I'll double check before I do, but I think the
didn't
best
look,
thing
but
for
yeah,
that
I
one
do
is just to
remember
have them both come, because if it's a duplex, I don't know if one just, I mow and you don't, or they just hide, I don't know.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's the safest.
So it's the safest way to go
Yeah.
on that one. So, but hopefully with the letter too, they might just be like, oh, we just can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what happens with
We'll
that.
throw them behind our property.
And then with that, I will get in touch too with Attorney Shaka to ensure that the CR language is complete and get the final that final document, so we can finally get that signed by all entities required, along with the baseline, and get that all said and done, because that will be going to fall town meeting for street acceptance, but the CR is not tied to the street acceptance.
So the
We'll try to
question
get it
of-
all done.
You were pursuing the question of whether we should accept this CR given the violations?
Yeah,
or-
again, once we have the applicants, the residents come in, I think that'll make it easier too, once known, because it's just that one with the
Yeah.
stairs that's the
Yeah.
biggest one.
What happened with inviting the planning board to come talk to us
Oh,
about?
that, they are very strung out with meetings. Danny did say he could attend a meeting with us as, if the board cannot, to explain what happened with the Shaker Pond, if that's the intent of the meeting. If not, with town meeting coming up next month, this is when it gets tricky with everything, because everyone's going to be going to a lot of meetings. So is the intent of that meeting just to go through like what we want to see, right, with going forward with conservation restrictions, as far as making sure everyone's on the same page with that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah.
we don't want to see any future CRs that we would be asked to accept that have these.
Yeah, okay.
toothy- and
I will bring that up to him again and see if we can
And-
figure out a day to get together, just to have a meeting to discuss
And then
future
the
CRs.
second one, which you brought up, is when we ask for those signs in the
yeah.
middle of the property line
Middle
where
of the
they can
property line,
actually be, we mean it.
Okay, yeah, well, I will get together with him and discuss getting that meeting together and what we can do with that.
I mean,
There's also the little skinny, useless strips of.
Yes, yeah, no, 100%. And then, as far as that goes, speaking, because the only other CR that's coming up would be Stratton Hill. That was continued at the planning board meeting, until, I think their second meeting in October, which I think is the 23rd. I did speak to Attorney Collins last week. They will be filing with us at some point because of the work at the front of that for their stormwater falls within the buffer zone. We do have an existing delineation for that property, but it does expire in November. So hopefully they get that filing in before that delineation expires, because there was question in the conservation analysis in regards to the wetlands in the front of that property. So I'm kind of hoping it comes in late.
Yeah.
But but it comes in when it comes in. I'm not.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything, so it's not like I'm holding anything back. I just haven't seen it. So, and they keep pushing back on the planning board. So
do they have any sort of final plans yet, or is it still in development?
I guess they submitted plans last Friday. Danny hadn't put them on the website yet. I hadn't seen them. So we haven't seen the final. I don't think the final plans have been posted. The latest revision of the plans has been posted yet. But they have been working out a lot of the details of the project. There were lots of pushback on as far as using existing utilities as opposed to putting new utilities in, and that's, I think, where some of the changes to the plans have come in.
The other thing, since you're doing their minutes, to bring up would be good there is that the terms of the CR get as close to finalized before they start work as possible.
Yes, no, when me and Danny had gone out to Shaker Pond and discovered all that, he realizes it was done improperly as I did, so going forward that won't happen, because it's the whole baseline is what holds it. That baseline needs to be done before people are moving into these houses, and that's where the issues lie. So that'll get worked out with the next one, 100%.
Yeah. Have they? What is their process for deciding who gets the CR, whether it's the town or Fish and Wildlife?
They haven't gone that far yet.
Okay.
I mean, they haven't. They haven't had any meetings on it yet, on that aspect of things.
Keep us posted on that, because I'd like to be there when they discuss.
Yeah, I got to talk to Danny about what we're doing with Stratton Hill when we're doing with stuff like that. So I will mention that to him when I talk about the CR, about what we're doing with the open space over there and what's going on with that. So there's a lot of details on that property that still hasn't been discussed yet, which I was nervous that the planning board meeting on Tuesday was going to go till 9:30, 10 o'clock, but they didn't show up, so it was over at 8:30, so which was nice. Well, in the interest of time, we'll leave it at that. Unless anybody has any questions.
And then, so they've formed may I?
Oh, yes.
Work group for 71 Sandy
They're
Pond?
in the process of conducting a work group for 71 Sandy Pond. I tried to go back through and find the email from Robert to see if we needed to have a representative from the commission on there. I know I will be on there.
Yeah.
But I think we do, because there's wetlands on there, but I'm not. I know the planning board does.
Yeah, I mean, I know that, because Janet Providakis is going to be on it, and I guess she had mentioned to Robert that I might be interested, or at least one of us.
One of us should be, yes, I believe so.
And Robert said, well, there are two open
residential
things.
Yeah, I don't think they were going to have a conservation, because I was going to be on there.
Yeah.
Because I tried to find an email. I go, I don't think I was asked. Should I add that to the agenda? I think
they've
somebody
got 2 people,
should be.
They've got the Parks and Rec person and 2 people from their commission, so they should really have somebody from our commission on there.
I mean, I can make that recommendation to Robert tomorrow, that we discussed it, and the commission would like to have a member.
Given wetlands.
Yeah, well, there's wetlands there, 100%. And the access to the pond.
Yeah.
I can make that comment.
Because Robert said, well, he told Jan, he responded to Janet, she forwarded it to me, that say if I was interested, I could apply through the.
Yeah.
But I actually.
But then you're acting as a resident, not as an
Right,
official
yeah.
member of the
And I actually
Conservation
don't
Commission.
think board members should take up open residence things.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
okay.
I will send that request to him tomorrow.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Unless
Any
anybody has any other
commissioners?
questions.
Have updates?
I was just gonna say I can meet you at Newtown and take Newton Street
Okay.
and take over for you.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Oh, and
It's a
I'm-
fun time.
I'm gonna try and join too.
Okay.
What happens to the thing when you close it up? What do,
So, I'll have, because, yeah, I said, I'll make sure when it all gets, where everything can go. The tables that I'm gonna have are just gonna be from the ones from upstairs anyway. So as long as you can get up there and leave everything either on the stage, I'll grab it on Monday morning. Like, it shouldn't be a big deal.
So you'll sit there with me?
I will sit there with you.
It's a good time.
We can reminisce.
I was gonna say, if you
about
want, if
Ted
there's
Lasso.
anything you want me to, anything else you want me to do for Newton
could.
Street, just let me know. If you want me to bring
Or sumac
plants
tea.
again. I'm gonna make sumac tea again. I'm just gonna make it again. Because, I feel like if we keep doing
Somebody
it.
drank it. I forgot who it was.
Janet Provdakis drank some.
Oh, there you
It's
go.
like lemonade a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna make sumac tea again, just because I think that's just gonna be our thing now. Is
Sumac tea.
we'll bring sumac tea.
Yeah, I'm gonna be
Sumac
on
everywhere. Might as well do something with it.
Maybe we should start to experiment with what can be done with Japanese knotweed. Because there are
It's true,
things.
there is, but not this time of year, isn't it? It has to be a baby, right?
Yeah, the young shoots and also the honey's made from the flowers. I
Yeah,
suppose.
I'm not going up to the. So many bees are over on those things right now.
Speaking of knotweed,
Speaking.
so right across from on Central,
Yes.
the sandy.
Yeah, there's
Did you
that,
see
there's
the
that
little patch?
there's a little patch. I know. I wanted
Is
to
that
ask.
in the right of way?
I wanted
that,
to
maybe
ask
we can
Dan
ask DPW to get out
I
there.
wanted to ask Dan if that was in the right of way, because there was just literally just a patch like
Yeah,
this
and I don't
big.
want to see that just.
I know. Yeah, I gotta ask Dan if it's in the right of way.
Okay.
Because because when it's heavily grassed like that, it's really hard to pull. I've discovered that. Because at Peroni Park, it's coming up on the shoreline, it's in the grassed area, and it's really hard to pull when it's in grass, because you can't get through the grass roots to yank it.
But I mean,
So-
the DPW can
I know, just dig it.
just scrape it right out. Big
Yeah,
column,
I'll ask Dan.
Yeah, that'd be
Or
good.
just be like, when you guys go out plowing, just go a little further. Yeah, I'll ask him, because I noticed that the other day too. I'm like, wait, I gotta say, I kept forgetting to ask him about it.
Yeah. Definitely.
Anything else?
So just with regards to the Shaker Mill Pond
Correct, yes.
stuff, would we entertain stairs like that? This is up in,
Like what? From that person's shed, or is this?
yeah, I'm just wondering, like if they came back, is there anything that they
Oh, they could
put up?
do to have more of a natural staircase. Yeah, I think. Well, those look like if they weren't pressure treated.
Oh, yeah, that's what
Yeah,
was
I don't think that, because they would just decompose if no one maintained them, right?
Right, basically.
So that would be
But
up to the,
essentially,
that would
they
be up to
could
the.
put, like dig in posts, even possibly with those, what are those?
Diamond piers or?
Diamond piers, thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted to say helical, but that's what they'll put in front of
Yeah,
it.
it's the
Yeah,
same
diamond
thing. Yeah.
piers, like if they put that up above the 50-foot and then just laced
Oh yeah.
timber down,
Yeah.
they could do that.
I feel.
So,
Yeah, I feel. Yeah, I think the commission would
We saw that.
entertain something like that.
Just send the picture.
Oh, yeah.
I can do that. Yeah.
I feel like if
Yeah. It was in the Fundy Trail up in Nova Scotia, they did that.
Oh.
There's quite a distance down to get to a waterfall. It was kind of cool.
I mean,
Teak would last a long time.
Cedar.
It cost about $5,000.
We're not trying to tell you to stay out, but
yeah, I mean, when they come in, if they have a request of, what they can do instead, we can mention some sort of natural wood stairs that would eventually just.
that aren't dug in, basically. Because that's
Yeah.
what this is. This is just, it's
Yeah,
just,
I mean,
they're just
what
laid
they
there.
already put in there has been dug in, right? So if you just pull the stone out, put wood that there you go, you're done. Unless you want them to rebuild it back. That's up to you all. Once they come in. If they come in, we'll see what happens.
Kind of seems like the same thing, though. It's still stairs in the,
Well, what she just described, taking the stone out and putting wood on top of the spots, well then, yeah, it was still formed, but that's what I'm saying, with these things, they're just timbers, and the way that they let the wire is holding them up, and they're basically like knotted, right? So think of an emergency ladder you throw out your window.
right.
Basically that, just it's laid down the side of a hill.
I don't throw emergency ladders out my window, I just plan to go with the house.
Wow.
There was just a ladder.
You go dark, don't you?
This is what happens when we go so late. Yes, it's
I know,
functioning.
I know, this is so
tried.
odd, it's like quarter to
I know, I
nine. It's
tried,
like, geez,
I
we're like an
tried.
hour and a half later than usual.
Yeah, I was checking the agenda, I'm like, oh crap.
I don't know. I kind of like it, man. When I
I'm
first
sorry.
joined, we were going till 11.
Yeah.
Those are
Sometimes
bad.
11:30.
Those are the
We
good
did
old days.
11:30 once.
Yeah.
Are you gonna mention your Wright Road, Snake Hill?
Oh,
Yeah.
at the corner of Wright Road and Snake Hill,
Yes,
on the inside corner,
yes.
there's some trees. And I don't know if they were cut or they fell, but they're
Okay.
honking
Big
huge
ones.
pine trees
Are they at that house that's right there?
right in the
Yeah,
backyard.
Okay, yep,
with a little stream that comes from the gun
okay,
club.
I know who that is.
I'm just curious if they fell down,
All right, I will ask them.
but I do see some cut ends.
I will ask them.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I
Looking forward to that.
I know the person who's gentleman that I knew from Shirley that worked there for a long time. His mother lives in that house, and he said to me he was going to cut trees. I go, you can't cut trees until I meet with you. He's like, well, I'm telling you now, I'm cutting them. I go, no. Just yelling at me down the hallway at town hall, that's not, no. So I will get a hold of him.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I was really hoping he wasn't going to do it, but I knew he was going to.
I just assumed they'd fallen, because it looks like such a mess, but
I will double check. They could have. I'll double check with
It's
him.
possible.
He said he was going to do it, but whether he was joke, he said he's a jokester. So,
Okay.
but I do know who owns it, and I will get a hold of him.
Anything else?
Yeah,
Oh,
there was an article recently in the Globe about homeowner associations. It says unless, in some cases, unless it's specifically stated in the documents that the association dissolves after 30 years.
Oh yeah.
oh,
Yeah. So I was wondering if the planning board knows this and is checking on those types of things.
I will double check with Danny and see if he knows that. I don't know how many we have in town. Besides, I think Sunflower Court, that area has a homeowners association.
Willow Road?
The Willows?
Yeah.
The Willows might, that one's not that old, but I will double check with that.
Interesting.
so you could write something into the homeowners association that says it would continue after 30 years?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think the majority of items in those are just infrastructure, but yeah, I'll double check that with both Dan and Danny, just to make sure they're aware of it, because I know the ones that have them, it's because they maintain the infrastructure, it's the stormwater systems.
As they said, Shaker Hill Road, that was just going to exist for the conservation area.
Yeah, so that's why I gotta verify that whole aspect of it, because that person did write into Dan at the DPW and with questions about some of the open space. And he goes, who's the owner of that? And I'm like, oh, technically, well, the owner of the CR cannot be the owner of the property. So we don't own the property, we only own the CR. And the owner of the property technically is Dan Aho. It's not an association, I don't think. I have to verify. That's how it reads in this, that's how it reads in the CR. That he's the great, what?
For Shaker Mill?
For Shaker Mill, yeah.
Because didn't he say he wanted to get it into a association
I
eventually.
I believe so.
He doesn't want to be responsible.
He doesn't want to be responsible,
Yeah.
so that, but that's a whole, I'd have to go ahead and read through someone's deed to see if it's written in there that way, because you couldn't just create it. But as it stands in the language of the CR, he's the grantor and we're the grantee,
Yeah.
so he is the person giving it to us. It doesn't state who the property owner is. I tried to look for that when
Yeah.
Dan asked me the question. I'm like, yeah, who owns it? I'm like, I think it's him. So I'll have to verify that too.
Anything else?
Process.
Next meeting is October 10th. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay? Passes unanimously.